All right, we're going to call to order with a quorum present at, I don't have a watch, 7:05. All right, for recording purposes, if we'll just go around and say who's here. Katrina, just say your name.
Katrina,
I'm going to say James's name for him.
James and David,
Cindy Laird.
Barbara Long.
Self-Tara Nembu.
Garrett Schraub.
Matt Kushner.
All right, perfect. All right, items of community interest. The volunteer appreciation dinner is on April 30th. So if you are a Haslet Park Board volunteer, which is all of us, and you have not responded, either tell Katrina or I've just forgotten her name. Okay, perfect. All right. All city offices are closed this Friday for Good Friday, and the Haslet Public Library will also be closed Friday and Saturday. And let's look at the minutes from last month. I forgot to say David was here. David Rogers is also here, sorry.
This is Cindy Laird. I would like to make a motion that the minutes be approved.
This is Barbara, I second.
All in favor? That's everyone. Motion passes. And then we'll look at the financial statement.
Katrina, at the top of the column, it says January actual. Is that, are these January numbers?
Or we say thank you. Anything big in or out that you know of? What was the, what did we already purchase for moving the park? So we're still left with the actual like movie license and then popcorn. So got it.
So even though we okayed it from last month, the $900 that we okayed is not in the movie in the park yet? Hadn't been deducted?
I think that's,
Okay, thanks.
looks good to me. I do need a motion, please.
This is Barbara. I move that we accept the financial report for March, end of March.
You might
This-
want to add as corrected so that you'll
Oh,
know
yes.
to change that to March instead of January.
Yes, I move that we accept the financial report with correction for the March actual.
Month.
This is Cindy. I second.
All in favor? Everyone agrees? Motion passes. All right, we have a park improvement project presentation. I have David.
Yes, it's finally time. You've got to make a choice and a recommendation to the city council so we can move this forward. Let's see, what line? That's not the first slide, is it? On mine, it's not. That's what I'm looking at. From one thing to the next, which one is right? That's the first one. This was where all the funds we could scrounge up, where we actually truly do have money. A lot of other money was promised, but that money never made it into the budget. So this is exactly what we truly do have. We got $200,000 that the HC EDC Type B has generously approved for this project. We have community park projects that are $75,000. We still have money for the upper trail crossing of $114,000, park benches for $30,000. We have a total budget of $419,000.
I have a quick question. Is
Sure.
that community park project what we rolled over
Yes, that's a rollover from last
the
year.
changing out? Got it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And the other question I have is the 200,000 is what they approved when I attended the meeting for tennis court.
Yeah, EDCs, that's where that money came from.
Okay.
There's actually, in the way theirs is written in their minutes, says just $200,000 basically to community park projects, period, whatever y'all wanted to spend it on. They didn't really make it have to be any one thing. It was whichever way you wanted to move it around and do it.
I guess that was just going to be my question. And do any of these sources obligate us to spend money on any part
No.
of the project?
They do not. You can use these monies on any of the listed projects that y'all had. And that's where the maps come back to the same ones y'all seen, the different projects that y'all had out there to work on.
Except for the park benches, right?
Park benches are also on the pictures. The park benches also can be used for wherever you want to use them.
Okay.
So you can go through all the different pictures, but what's important really is the final sheets. That's where the money, because that's the estimated cost for each project y'all had on y'all's list. And this is where you got to make a choice. This is where it gets fun. What's the most important one on your list has to be the way to go. As you look at them, the community park improvements for the tennis courts, a completed out project is estimated to be $385,000, which would take pretty much all of that. And you got to always look at, and I always tell everybody this, you can't go, oh, okay, I got 385, let me spend all of that, and then that still leaves me about 40,000 on it, almost roughly in the budget. No, not really, because these prices, even if they're a month ago or even a week ago, doesn't mean that's the same price today. Prices
Well,
are changing
That's
constantly.
my first question is, okay, I see a 20% contingency. That's great. Do you actually feel confident that 385 is kind of sort of maybe what we'll get? Or?
We check often enough. We see it going up. We see it go down. every day the price of gas changes because like tennis courts, that is an asphalt-based material that's laid down. It goes as oil goes. Oil goes up, futures go up, it goes up. Oil futures go down, it goes down. So you kind of watch. According to the people we talked to on tennis courts, if you got somebody and you put the bid out and you're having them look at it, they would price it and actually make the final order once you get a contractor pick. When they see the market drop, they place their order for their stuff right then and there, so that locks it in, and then that's where you're at. That's why if you pick that project, I would not worry about any more funds. You're done and move on, because that's going to leave you some contingency above and beyond that 20%.
Okay, so tennis courts is essentially all of it.
Yeah, that
The
one would
other,
eat it
the
all.
other three, or I'm
Yes.
sorry, there's four. The lighting, if we do that, would have to be a modified project.
Yes,
Tap
that one
trail.
there would have to be broke down different.
The other
Um,
three basically roll up to 340, so you could essentially do tennis courts or the other three.
Pretty much, because the lighting one, you just can't even get close enough to do that one. And we're actually in discussions with Tri-County Electric. They had won the contract to do the lighting on Haslet Parkway when it comes through, and to get more services over this part of town, because this is all Encore, and we are one of the few towns we have a dual certification. You can get Encore, you can get Tri-County, depending on where you're at, how close you are to which line. There are some places in town that have both lines sitting side by side, so you can pick whichever fire you want. And they are wanting to get as many things here in town as possible, so we mentioned about this tap trail project, since they will be coming in along that new route of the roadway. They will probably going to get the contract to do the power for the signals at the intersection at Schoolhouse Road, which is right by the trail. And we were talking to them about, well, would they be interested in one of their decorative lights like they have in the Caraway neighborhood, or Latero's got them, Watercress. Maybe we could work out something with them to help do the lights and maybe save some money, because they would, most of their jobs, they'll provide the poles. We about to do the digging, but they would provide all the poles and the wire and all the really expensive stuff.
Well,
So,
I know it has been brought to my attention by a couple of community members that there's some question about not understanding why we're doing trail lighting when we know roads are likely to change along those trails. And so that maybe that's premature, and we spend the money on it, put it in, and then it gets ripped up because of the new roadway. And so, I mean, is that being discussed by?
that's the area where Haslet Parkway, there's only would be about 6 lights that are involved even in that project. And those 6 lights, because that project has to rebuild that section of trail, they're having to replace them anyway. So that's how we got all into this, since Tri-County is going to be doing that. The TxDOT project already calls for having those lights installed. So why not see what it would cost? And that puts us a year or so down the road too. That's going to be 2023 into the early part of 2024 on that project. So it gives time to raise funds if we need to, and then to work out possible deal of doing this project much cheaper. So we're kind of excited that this might be a good thing for us.
So am I understanding that y'all are suggesting that part of the project be postponed so that we can work with Tri-County?
That's why we're saying, since we can't afford that project anyway,
Okay.
don't worry about it. We will come back to it if we feel like we have to, but if Tri-County does jump on this as a project that they're willing to work on, we may not ever have to bring it back. We may be able to handle this and just move on.
But yes, that was discussed at the EDC meetings when they talked about the design, to skip that part until it was.
Yeah, everybody's recommendation would be to go ahead and do the tennis courts, and we'll get the other stuff next go round.
So excuse me. So is there a version of this report that removes that cost from this report so we can?
Each one of these sheets is a separate report. We did
Okay.
each project had its own deal, so these costs can be put, they're all one by themselves.
Okay, can you, just so that I just want to make sure I'm perfectly clear. So I know so there's 2, 3. So which project specifically of the 5 are impacted by that tri-county road work?
Just
that's
the
gonna-
lighting project. That's the only one.
So
the
that's
400
the
and-
last one?
The last $450,000 project.
I have a question, David. Normally we have to have 3 bids. Did we not get 3, or were these the best ones that we?
Bids, that's a whole different thing. This is not bids, this is just cost
Oh,
estimates.
so we're not deciding on the company. This
No,
is just
y'all
the
don't-
ballpark
No,
number.
that's,
Got it.
y'all don't get to pick who gets to do it. You know, pretty much state law does, it goes to, all y'all doing is recommending the council to spend y'all's, that $419,000 budget on which project you wish. That's the tennis courts or the other 3 projects.
Can I ask Barbara a question? So whenever the tennis court went from our idea of 1 court to somebody else's idea of 2, remind me why that was?
And I think that was always a possibility of discussing 1 or 2, but it's because it's more cost effective to build 2, and it's also more useful if you're making it a multi-use court for tennis and pickleball.
On there, having to get them out of there because they were blocking up the channel. Oh, the money for that's out of my budget. That 114,000 that's in the budget that y'all can use, that's the money I put in there for this project in hopes that we could get that done, because it is a pain for us from a maintenance standpoint. But in discussions with everybody in the administration, we decided to be able to do something, to really do any kind of project, we needed to just put all the funds in a basket and say, okay, pick what we can get done that'll be something, you know, everybody is happy with. I do know, talking with EDC director and all, the lighting project and stuff, which is high on, and they do have money, believe me, they do. They would entertain rehearing specific to that one project as a possibility. I couldn't say when that would happen. My guess is with the time of the year we're into now, it would be something they would budget into their next year's finances, I would assume. But there is a big interest over there. There's at least 1, maybe 2 members I know on their board that are very big on that electric program around that part of the park. So
that was my other question. 'Cause I'm not familiar. I don't know, Barbara, you've been to the EDC meetings. If you have an idea of this is possible.
oh yeah, it
For
is.
example, we choose to say, let's do the tennis court, but we really want the lighting around the park. Can we just take that? I feel like it's easier to take $90,000 request to an EDC board and say, we really like this project. We had to choose, would you be willing to sponsor this project?
Yes, and
And then if we did that, which
that
of the
was a
other
question that was
3?
asked of them, and I was told by their director that yes, they would be happy to put that on their agenda and listen to that.
So of the
Well-
3, aside from the tennis court, from a park perspective, which of those other 3 would you prefer to see happen the most? Tennis court excluded.
I
Oh,
don't,
if
I don't
was
think that's really the
doing-
choice, because if
No,
you
no,
do the
I'm-
tennis court,
What I'm asking is which one, so if we choose as a park board, I'm hypothetically saying, if we choose the tennis court, that leaves the other, we either get those 3 or we get the, that's what we decide with the
exactly.
money. But as far as us now presenting the case to the EDC, can you fund this project? Of the other 3, which one would you prefer see go first?
So EDC's economic development, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Of
So why would they support
Because they have lots of money
drainage?
and it's all
the
economic
the
development.
type B
Right.
EDC, that's one of the things that their money can be spent on is park improvement
Okay.
for the community. They generally do like things that are like drainage improvements aren't really kind of their thing. That's
It's not a. thing
That's
you can-
not, you know what I mean. Underground, out of
Right.
sight, out of mind. Those drainage things, water lines, sewer lines, things like that. People don't really.
New culverts don't sell.
Yeah,
so
those aren't a big
it's-
seller. But lights, things that people can see usually are more. They like things that they can.
But lights or benches
Let me-
might be something they would entertain.
Yes, those are
Can-
the kind of things they do look at.
Can I make a suggestion? Let's make a decision on what we want to recommend, and then make a decision on what we want to recommend for ADC, right?
In my
Is
own
that-
defense, that question leads to what I would choose. Because if I get 3 or I get 1, but I know I can get 1 and maybe another one, EDC's already given us $200,000 for the tennis court. That was the proposal, even though it's not allotted that way. That was how it was presented, and that was how they gave it to us. We know that. So if they've already given us 200,000 and we choose our money to go the other way and then go back to EDC and say, hey, y'all gave us 200,000, but we used it somewhere else. Can you give us some more? Like, that's not going to work out. If I'm on the EDC, I'm going to be like, you're crazy. I already gave you money.
Well,
So
and
that's just me looking at it from.
They could do that, and they could go, well, we gave you
Right.
200,000,
And I would just like to say, I did attend the meeting when they were discussing approving the funds for the tennis court, multi-court project. And at first, they gave us half of the amount that we requested. They were very supportive. There was no one on the board who was on that board who was against it. Then we went to the other board. They felt like that was not the appropriate place for their money. So then this board came back and they added the other part. They increased their amount in support of the multi-purpose court. So that's why I'm saying, yes, going back for one of the other projects, because all of the other projects, we actually didn't take them. They didn't initiate from this board. They just came to us for input. And so those are really being driven, even though they will certainly impact and improve the park, they were being driven by other groups or other, I don't know, the city. Right, of course. Yes. But the money that is the bulk of that money that's coming from that board, its intention was clearly to support the multi-use tennis court.
Did you also hear, I'm just going to point out what David said a minute ago. He gave us $100,000. And his project, that's why I was asking which of the 3 he preferred. And so I don't want to speak on his behalf. I kind of know which one, but I was trying to get him to say what his choice of the other 3 would be.
Oh, yeah, no, the drainage would be something. But again, I'm going to tell you that one, I can go back to my city council and go, okay, we weren't able to do it, but we got your tennis courts. Hey, I need to put that back on my list again this year, please. And they're easier for me to sell on projects like that because that's their thing. They know what infrastructure is all about. And they don't mind me spending money on putting stuff under the ground where nobody gets to see it.
And it is possible that if we put this out that if we select, hypothetically, if we select the tennis court, multi-use court to be the project that moves forward, that it could come under that, because it could come under that amount.
Oh yeah, we've seen
So
some
we could keep
things
that
go
in
out
mind,
recently
too.
that came in under what we thought they were going to.
And
It's
knowing
just
that,
somewhat depends on depending on the industry and the contractor, how hungry they are. Some are real hungry for jobs, some are not. Just depends on what they're looking for.
and so that's what I was saying. So it may be very well that then we could have a backup plan that if we have some funding left, which would be our next one that we would put that balance toward, would it be the second or the third one? Because I know you said you could work on on the
And you,
fourth
you
one.
all have to remember, I mean, I know it's only April, but we're only a couple of months away from next year's budget.
That's right.
You gotta start down the hearings again and start all over for next year.
Do we want to make a motion or just talk about what our preferences are? I mean, what, I'm happy to.
This is Barbara Long. I move that we proceed initially with our priority for completing the tennis court, multi-use court project. And do I need to name the amount?
No, the best thing, I guess, if you want to look at, what you want to do is recommend to the city council to use the available park projects funds
Okay.
to fund the tennis court project.
Okay.
And that's all they need to know. You want to spend your money on the park project,
All right.
and
This is
that's the tennis court.
All right, this is Barbara Long recommending to the city council that we move forward on the tennis court, multi-use court project, that we make that recommendation to city council, that be the priority for our park improvement funds that have been made available.
Eric will second. All in
Second.
All in favor? All right, none opposed. Motion passes to recommend to City Council that the funds that we have be allocated to the tennis court project at this time.
I'd like to make a
that's
comment too, Sarah, if I may. We have $40,000 that we had put set aside for the Wild West Fest. So possibly those funds would be available for us to use in some other way, correct?
Remember the money you have when August and September are rolling around. In August, it's a great time to, or late July even, when you do your July meeting, to look at your budget, see what you have not done, what you have done, and go, hey, you know, we had some money left over. Could we pick off such as the bench project at 30,000 or something of that
Is it
nature?
too early to ask for that now?
I mean, that's, yeah, too early
We won't
now.
forget.
But when they're in budget time and they're working on stuff like that, it's a great time to hit them because we do all that all the time. If we're lucky enough to have funding left in a line item, we can get something else done this year instead of waiting. We go and ask, and then towards the end of the year, they'll make a last minute amendment, let us move the money to a different spot, spend it, and then it's gone. And then the year's over and we start over again.
Well, what I'd like to just say, when this does go to the city council, if they could be told by whoever makes that report that we are already looking ahead, that we may be able to partially fund either the Gamble Park project or part of the lighting electrical.
Will any of the other projects even be presented? Or only the one that we're recommending?
Y'all are a recommending
Oh,
board.
okay.
We go with y'all's recommendation.
I think
Yes.
that's getting, I think
Now,
that's dipping.
we always have to keep all these things. They're sitting there. They're available for them to look at. But if they do not ask, they go with your recommendation right off the top. We're done. If they do ask, then we have to bring up, okay, there was this project, this, and this is the total cost for them, and they can make their decision. But
Okay, my other
usually
question would be, when will it go to council and should we be at the meeting?
will be May 2. I believe it's May 2, May the 2nd, I believe. Mm-hmm. That sounds about right. Have to look on my calendar. I believe it already is, because I asked the mayor to put that on there for me. So I'm assuming it is, and I believe it would be May 2nd. Yep, it is May 2nd. And believe it is on the, hard to see on this. There's something on there for a park presentation, so I'm assuming that's us. I think we've got a couple of things already on there.
I have a curiosity question. When people submit letters to be read on their behalf when they're absent as a resident of Haslet, do I do that as a resident or do that as a park board chair? You write the letter to city council and you say, my name is Sarah Nembu, I live at 2115, whatever your address is. And in my absence, can you please read? Like, it would be as though what you would say if you were in the meeting, but you can't attend it. So you say, as a citizen, I would like to support the tennis courts that the park board has recommended. I guess my question was, do you do that? You don't do that as a park board member, right? You do that just as a citizen? Okay.
And I think it has to be received a certain amount of time prior to the meeting, right?
Talked about doing it first meeting, so I'm assuming still so.
Is that the end of that part? Do we have any more for the, any more park improvement projects?
Nope, that is it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Easter egg hunt was April 9th, 2022. Went off fairly well. Our bunny survived. And kids got lots of eggs. And we have a lot of empty eggshells that nobody wants. Yes. The only thing that I would add was my little last minute idea, which was totally a roll of Christmas garland. If we could just get a rope, maybe, David? Because what I did with the garland was I strung it from the older group so they couldn't get into the field before we unrolled that part of the rope. So if we just hung a rope across the end where the sidewalk is, because they kept encroaching, we kept having to say, back up, it's not your time yet, don't go. If there's a rope there, it may or may not hinder them. But yeah, and that way we can just unroll the rope one section at a time and let them go in succession.
Well, I don't know how the older kids did it. I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old participate. The 4-year-old and I think half the group ran in from the side, like literally under the rope, because
Correct.
I don't think that's a problem. I don't know how it did for the. I think for the middle group,
We finally let them line
it
up
was
on
kind of
all the
funny
sides.
watching them.
Yeah.
I mean, it looked fun. I think it went great. I'm not sure I'd change anything. So.
Well, one thing we were, somebody mentioned to us, and we weren't aware of it. I wasn't aware of it. But we need to make an announcement, and I know it's difficult. We can't enforce it, but we can at least make them aware. If they've gone to the 2-year-olds, please don't go to the 3 and 4-year-olds. And if you've gone to the 3 and 4-year-olds, don't go to the next group up. All sections. Yes, correct. So just make an announcement. That's all we can do. So.
We probably could have used a few more volunteers, yeah.
Yes.
The only other thing I'm going to add, and it was sort of last minute thought, I was standing in the crowd in the heat. It was a hot day, which ironically doesn't happen all the time because it got rained out last year. And somebody said, hey, it'd be cool if there were snow cones here. And I thought, yeah, it sure would have, but we didn't think about that. So I don't know. I guess you don't know if the weather's going to be in your favor, but it seems like maybe if we had a couple of snow cones, there was tons of people there. Even if we had the little snow cone lady over here and the little and who is it that has the freestanding one? The one that they drive, can't they go anywhere? What is their permit? Kona Ice, there we go. They can come anytime, right? Okay. Right, just to see. Okay. But at least even if Kona Ice could come, that
And
I
maybe
don't know.
maybe just a phone call, say, hey, we're having Easter this weekend, just so you know.
Right. Fair. Yeah. I don't know if we need vendors, but I don't know. I feel like snow cones aren't really vendors. I feel like that's just something you're buying for your kid at the.
Well, and the whole event lasts 30 minutes.
Right.
So a vendor wouldn't be there long enough unless they came
have
early.
snow
and-
cones, and then they would
right.
probably sell out.
And the DJ area, everybody agree that was a good
Yeah, he was fine.
location, I think. And then what about having a picture area for the bunny? I don't really think we want to do that because we don't want to slow the pace.
Mm-hmm. I thought what we did this time was fine.
I
where she
did.
went into
I
the
did like the
pavilion.
bunny coming over and being there for the countdown. That helped a lot.
It was fun.
The bunny's not here yet. It's not your turn. You know.
Right.
But
Okay,
it
so
would have
if-
been nice if the megaphone
I
had
do
worked.
have one suggestion. If parents are wanting a place to take pictures, I mean, I don't know that with one bunny you can make that happen, but maybe if we had like a wooden, you know how we have the picture frame for Christmas?
Yeah.
If we had something like a wooden Easter egg that they could stand by and take a family picture with their phone.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that-
just a
that's
suggestion.
I don't know if y'all can see this. Yeah. This was somebody else, some other city. That was my only suggestion. I think, well, the bunny has reported that she needs a raise, but we may have to get a different bunny next year.
If she's available next year, I think she deserves a raise.
I think she deserves a raise too. She actually did really awesome.
Yes, she did. She did very good with the
Yeah.
kids too.
And then event parking, which Dave and I have already talked about. We're going to move forward next year.
We had a really good bunny, and I'm not just saying that. Like, she was waving at the kids and dancing with them, and she was like, I don't know what she was doing, but it was so cute. It was great. And as hot as the bunny must have been, she deserves a raise next year. If
Well,
she'll,
But Sarah saved the day with a straw.
if she'll agree to do it again. Okay. Anything
And
else?
I just wanted to apologize to the group for having a change in our family plans and not being able to be there to support y'all. I just wanted to say that publicly.
We don't have to worry about next year's date, right? This is more of a lessons learned. Okay. Memorial Day celebration will be May 30th of 2022. I saw a little flyer in here. You can sponsor a flag. We already have a speaker, just 30 minutes.
I've
correct?
contacted Jimmy Roberts. He's spoken there a couple of times. He's a Medal of Honor winner, and yeah,
Okay.
he would do a really good job. I haven't heard back from him
Okay.
yet. Jimmy. Yeah. And Katrina has secured the sheriff's posse. And have you heard from the fire department? Okay. And she also has a contact with the scouts. So
Did y'all want me to reach out to that young man who did that little tribute last year when ours got canceled and played his trumpet? There's a Facebook
I'd love for him to
video.
come. Yeah.
Maybe I could see if if he's still doing it, maybe his dad would let him come and play for us in real life. There's a guy whose video is on our Facebook page. He sent it to the Facebook page, the Haslet Parks board last year.
They played taps
I wanna
across
say
the
played
country, and
taps.
he was part of it. Yeah. Year before, I think.
I don't know. I
know.
thought it was just last year.
Roberts. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Excellent.
All right, we have Fireworks Independence Day event is going to be July 1st, 2022. Do we need to add toilets, David? Is that something we should do today? Okay, so not yet.
Sorry, I have quotes for the security for you guys to discuss real quick.
Okay.
So the Tarrant County Sheriff's officers are now $65 an hour. In the past, we've had 3 officers from about 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then we've used this Lone Star Security Company, and they are $28 an hour. so about double to have the Tarrant County Sheriff's Office. This one is going 3 officers, same amount of time, about $510 versus about $11.70.
And we've used them before, or the city has used them before?
We've used this Lone Star at Wild West Fest. I don't know if y'all remember.
I do.
What's
They're just
they're
kind of average.
uniformed, but I think that's all.
Has there ever been any trouble,
No.
or I mean,
No, there's
No.
never any trouble, but it's more of literally security, like in case there is trouble.
just the visual
Yeah.
deterrence?
Right.
Well, and that, at least the sheriffs, now, we've never had them do anything, but the sheriffs do, after our normal 4th of July over on Schoolhouse Road, they did traffic control, letting people get out, helping to block 156.
The only thing I could think is people bringing in alcohol, so they help to monitor that quite a bit.
But either group can handle that? But if there's a problem, you can, if we have the security company and there's an issue, we can call in the sheriff, correct? Well, I mean, could we contract with one sheriff to have somebody on the ground, boots on the ground, if, knowing they're there for sure, and then have the other and have them kind of oversee the security team?
One thing will be, since we're going to do it in this park, unlike before at Nance and all, it is the traffic, everything's more concentrated. It's not as strung out as we were before. So I don't know if we need as many. You think, they're going to be a lot? Yeah, so we don't really know. But when we cut loose, everybody trying to get out on 156 might be crazy coming out of there. I don't know. I have no idea how that will work.
I don't know if it's offensive, but I think we should at least have one paid sheriff and maybe 2 security guards. Because there's going to be a regular sheriff that's on duty that, sits out here at the corner anyway, and he could help that corner. I mean, cross our fingers. Is that offensive? I don't know.
I mean, I agree with you. You don't expect it, might as well plan for it in case. Have someone there under. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Well, and if they've used them for the Wild West Fest, they're used to being at this park too. So they know, well, true, but they should be able to look at their notes or something and make themselves visible in that area.
And that's why I say probably at least one for sure, probably. 'Cause the parking area over there, either coming or going, could be really crowded. I don't know. And
think
so
we
we
could get
might
that-
have to have some 156 traffic control
That gentleman
at that
from-
location. Inside of the event, I don't know that there's all that much, but, and I don't know how, if we contacted our guy who's on shift and said, hey, we need traffic control on 156, if he'd show up just for that. But he has to be able to leave. The other one doesn't have to leave. So
So-
That's always the difference, is that guy, if you're paying him to be at the event, he's gonna be at the event. He doesn't have to go anywhere else, no matter what.
The new youth guy at the Baptist church that said, hey, let us know if you need volunteers. Can they do parking directions?
Yeah, oh yeah,
I mean, can we ask them?
yeah, at the
Oh, I'm
entry.
not saying to get rid of the sheriff. I'm just saying, like, could we have
Interior,
them help
yes,
direct
interior
the
to the
traffic?
parking, having some people that can be over there to help direct people would be great. It's when they hit 156, coming or going, that's probably where, if we have trouble, that'll be where it'll be.
Can we have just one paid sheriff that can take care of that? Okay. That would be my suggestion. No, I would say with security.
I'd like to make a motion that we hire the security team for the 4th of July celebration, and in addition, have one police officer available.
How many? I would say 2 and 1, but if we've had 3 previously, do we need 2 security and 1 sheriff?
Well, I was talking about a security team.
You pay by the number.
So how many do you think we need?
Trina said we had 3 last year total. So if we have 2 security and 1. I don't know, David, you tell us. Is 3 enough?
No, our fireworks last, what you're thinking, is National Night Out. Yes.
No.
No.
Well, yes, we have lots of police there, and we have our whole fire department. You know, we do, because that's the different.
Yeah. I think you probably 2 would probably be enough. I mean, it's a more concentrated area. They don't have to go as far. They don't have to move around as much. Before, they had to kind of go up and down Schoolhouse Road. So they had mile and a half of, area to kind of plus be on the infield. So they circulating around. They covered a lot of ground.
Well, we still do have the parade.
Well, they never did do much at the parade besides the one that blocked the road. And if we're coming the other way, Mike and them used the fire truck and everything to block the road. They were there to get them back out of there. Well, they're not going to have that problem at this time getting back out like they had before, because they're going to be able to circle around Old Town and work their way back the other way. A lot easier to get in and out because you got a signal to get out at. Up there at Schoolhouse, we don't have a signal. So I don't think that's going to be as big an issue. Yeah, we have in the past, because, we had the ones out to let people know that we were going to be closing the road down from hour to hour.
We had 4 times.
Yeah, it is. It's very expensive for the little bit of time we get out of 15, 20-minute long parade. But you have signs up for a week in advance at, how much are those now? They're $75 a day plus the toll
I
fee
just
and
looked at
everything.
it. I think we spent around 400 to 500 on signs.
It's not cheap.
Okay, so this is Cindy, and I would like to make a new motion about security for the 4th of July celebration. I'd like for us to hire 2 security people and 1 paid police officer for that evening.
From 5 to 11. From 5 to 11 p.m.
Correct, from 5 to 11 p.m.
I'll second that.
All in favor? None opposed? Motion passes. 2 security, 1 sheriff. This is Sarah, and I'd like to make a motion that we request a closure of the road for the parade on Independence. Period. On July 1st.
This is Barbara, I second.
All in favor? Motion passes. Tell me.
A request to allow parking of vehicles on the grass.
Ooh.
Otherwise, we can't park people on the other side of the park legally, technically.
How do we ask for that? We just ask council? Oh,
You have park rules that say you can't park out there and drive vehicles on the grass, period. If we don't ask the council to waive that rule, then we're not really supposed to park anybody over there. The noise and all isn't, we won't have any problem with that. And are we going much after 10? We're not really. I mean, in the past, we usually,
9:30.
we may be there cleaning up and everything way past 10, but nobody else usually is there. Usually just public work. Usually they get in there, get started, at 9:15, thing lasts 20 minutes, and it's over with, and it is, everybody leaves fast. That's the only ones I know of.
All right, so do we need another motion
Yes.
for the parking on the, this is Barbara, I request that we, ask city council to approve parking on the grass for our Independence Day celebration on July 1st.
Do I have a second? Anybody?
This is Cindy. I'll second.
Cindy seconds. All in favor? None opposed? Right. All right. Do we need to know anything about the sponsor forms or anything? I see one in the packet. Okay. Yay. Any parade entries? Okay. Cute. They're smart. Okay, so we will move on to Movie in the Park on September the 16th. We have In and Out, and we have the screen. Still, I think a little early to pick the movie, right? And we have a sponsor. Okay. That's it. Oh, I have a question. So since we have In and Out, is it the same realtor company that sponsored last year? Do you know if they're planning to do their candy boxes like they did? That was real fun, but. Do we want to skip the popcorn then, since we have food and candy? Okay, just making sure. We skipped it last year, I think. Well, and then In and Out, so, okay. Should we buy some water? Okay, deal. All right, and then National Night Out will be October 4th. We can talk about that when it gets closer. Katrina usually does all of that. We just man our little table. We have In and Out that day. Haslet Hustle 5K and Fun Run. We do have Mr. Clarence slated for October 29th, 2022, correct? Perfect. Excellent. Christmas in the Park, December the 3rd, 2022. I think we have all the stuff we need, right? Santa, we got Santa. Hayride, right?
Is the fire department's fundraiser, the Haunted Hayride,
Yes.
and they will have in and out down there at the fire
Nice.
station the same night on the 29th. Okay, go ahead, sorry, to Christmas.
Excellent. I'm saying, do we have Santa for Christmas in the park? We have reindeer. We have the globe. Do we need to get that?
We'll have to back to that next month.
Okay.
I looked at Christmas.
Okay. So the things that we know we have to have in advance, we've already gotten, correct? Okay. Do we need any lights or anything? Have we worked on that? So pass. We're good. Okay. Okay. Yoga 2022 still going strong. Tai Chi. We have flyers here. We decided to keep whatever rates we had, right?
Just-
$5 for yoga, $10 in the beginner class of Tai Chi, and then 5 and 10 for residents versus non. Why is Tai Chi so much more expensive?
The
curious.
instructor keeps up with that.
I'm just curious. Did the instructor set those prices? I just don't know why
Yes.
Tai Chi would be more expensive.
Yes, he did.
And we started a Facebook page, Haslet Area Yoga, and we actually had 18 people at class the last 2 Thursdays.
Oh, nice.
So it's doing well.
Is Tai Chi harder than yoga? I'm just thinking. Is Tai Chi harder than yoga? I mean, I'm a resident, so my price is the same. I was just curious why it's more expensive. Any other projects or ideas?
I just wondered if for our next meeting, we could talk about food trucks a little bit. I read an article in the paper this past week that our neighbor Keller is actually expanding their food truck area where they have them come regularly. And I would just, because Haslet doesn't have a lot of restaurants right here, I just thought it would be nice if we could encourage a food truck night, maybe once, start once a month or something like that. And I know they have to have power and different things, but we have food trucks at some of our events here. So I just wanted to maybe see if we could get that moving ahead a little bit.
Well, I'm
And
gonna
families
put
could
that
say,
under future agenda items
Yes.
number 9.
yeah, well, just other projects or ideas, that was,
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, I have a project, but it goes under 8, so we'll wait. Park update. Park facilities rental policy. Is that kind of just a mute point at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Go ahead.
Pretty much.
Anything, we can't do anything,
Go
right?
ahead, Dave.
I was gonna say a little bit more on that, just so I understand. But
Staff had a big meeting about this with the mayor and a lot of people. The fire department was involved, code enforcement, everybody pretty much. And to try to make it work is a nightmare unless we're going to hire somebody full time to take care of all this. One, the pavilions we do have, the little one over here at Gamble, it's right in the front. So if you wanted to rent it, everybody's walking through the middle of your thing constantly. And so it's not really set up for it. You rent the one over at Community Park, you're right in front of the bathroom where everybody also is going to be coming back and forth through what you got going on. We're just not set up for it. You go to other parks, there's some in Keller, Denton has some. If you want to do pavilion type rentals and specific thing rentals like that, they have a place set up. It has its own parking, it has its own everything. So that you want to have family reunion, go for it. It's got its own parking spaces. we're just not set up for that. This kind of park is not, neither one of these parks here are designed to be done that
So,
way.
perfectly understand all. What about the weightlifting thing they do? and
Gladiator.
That's just gonna,
So why does Camp
That's
Gladiator
been
still
done
get to
under a
have
total,
dinners?
that's not even a park rental fee thing at all. That's under a special event fee, which it probably shouldn't have been under. And
So
in
how do we ask them
technicality,
to
the
review
special
that?
event policy is really not enforceable because it's never been approved by resolution.
So I have
So
a
without that
question.
approval, it's not even any good. So they are going to be
It's been
reverting
removed.
to, you show up, they show up, oh well. That's what everybody else
So the
does.
consensus is to go back to first come, first served. Park is
Mhm.
open to the public and everyone can sit
how
down.
about the baseball fields?
That's under a separate contracted agreement.
Okay, so.
That's a city
So the
council driven
short answer is if you really want to rent something, it's a city council
contract
agreement.
with the
one-off.
city
All right,
council.
I'm perfectly okay.
That's the way, right now, that's the way it would be done. If you wanted to specifically rent something for a time period, you're going for city council with your idea, what it is, and they will decide and work out a contract with
And your
you.
90-day notice.
So are you saying that Camp Gladiator's agreement is going away?
What they have currently, yeah, that's
Because
gonna,
that's pretty much what we wanted from the beginning.
that's
and so
disappearing. And it will be, if they show up,
it's really all we wanted.
if somebody is wherever, they'll show up and play, do their thing wherever they want to go, as long as there's nobody in their way.
Well, and I'm not
If
trying to call
somebody's in their
anybody
way-
out, but we were at the park for the Easter event, and there was a church that was set up there, just having some, crawfish boil, and they didn't have any permits or anything. They just showed up and were having a
Which
barbecue.
that one should have been a code enforcement stop.
But there was no one to enforce it. Do you see what I mean?
That's what I mean.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. We don't
That
have
was
anybody
kind
to
of
do
my
that.
point. There was nobody
Scheduled
there. We were
because-
there, but what are we going to do? Say you can't have your
Technically,
crawfish?
with them having a crawfish bowl out there, they have an open flame, which is, no, that's against the park rules. You shouldn't be able to do it.
Even if it was propane, it was propane.
Doesn't matter. Open flame is an open flame. And especially right now with the fire dangers that we're having, it's even more, the fire department wouldn't have allowed it either if they'd have had it. Fires in our park are in the grills and grills only, and that's only if we're not under a fire hazard. If we are, then they're not.
And so was a letter sent, or will a letter be sent to them so that they're aware for next time?
I don't even know
mean,
who it was. I just know it was a group that was having crawfish, and they looked like a family to me. I only found out after, the end of the event. that
I think they don't
were-
have, you all don't have time to chase that down. I
No.
mean,
Right.
if it's made
That's-
aware of at the time and someone reports it, I
Well,
guess.
and I do
part of
agree
the
with that.
equation.
It's like even at the Keller, the Keller Senior Center, they have 2 employees. I mean, we can't always compare ourselves because they're built out and they have staff for their senior program. They have staff for their park program, and we aren't there yet.
So we can still basically first come, first serve, but you can still rent this building if you needed it for a baby shower or something like that. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a community center rental agreement for residents only.
And that still stands? Okay. But for outside park stuff, it's just going to be first come, first serve. Okay. Yard. Okay, so Nance Field. Anything?
No, nothing.
And then Firehouse Field. I don't really go out there, so I'm not gonna lie. Is the gate? We were trying to get access to everybody. Is that up and working?
Yeah, they lock the fields up under their HSA agreement.
Oh. Okay.
Wait,
I thought
Before
they
you-
were having access
Wait,
to
before you go through with that, weren't we supposed to be doing something like chat with the roads or trying to get things a little bit more accessible in that area?
Yes. And again, well, I might as well just tell you the real truth. A lot of things were promised amongst previous administration things. And when things started getting down to it, we don't have the money for all the things that everybody thought we had. There's not the money there that people thought was here. They did a lot of agreements that gave away a lot of money. And we spent a lot of money on things that right now currently aren't even in our city. So lots of things going on behind the scenes.
Wonderful.
I just have a question. Is there going to be an effort to make Firehouse Field more accessible to our community instead of having us locked out of our community by HSA?
Nothing currently that they're planning. There are some other things in the works, but we're not allowed to talk about those yet
Okay.
that are coming, but not on that property. Yeah, that property, that's one of the budget things that nobody likes to talk about, but we put together this whole entire deal. We're going to do all this stuff back there, but nobody ever sit and look back and goes, well, got to have water, got to have sewer, other things there. And to get sewer for that property is about $3 million. So to service one little bathroom, $3 million on top of what it would take to operate and build those fields and the soccer fields and the tennis courts and all the things they were going to do down there. Yeah, there's not that kind of money in the budget for.
But Nance isn't
put it
part of
this way,
HSA.
I'm never going to have to worry about it because I will not be here. I won't be alive long enough to see that kind of money.
Is Nance open, or is Nance locked into the HSA contract? Nance is by the old school, right?
It's still in their contract. They have exclusive rights to use that field during season.
When does their contract end?
Basically never. It rolls over every year unless the city council wants to take it up and rewrite it.
What month is
And that hasn't happened in,
How much,
yeah,
sorry,
4 or 5
how
years.
much money from the city goes to that field? Because it sounds like a private, I mean, you're basically describing a private field.
Exactly.
For the
So
most part,
when we
yes.
talk about capital projects or anything, maintenance budget, there shouldn't be a penny going to it if it's not accessible. You can go down the path of why do we even own the thing? We probably don't. I mean, that's a different. But if the city can't access it,
Mm-hmm.
So I actually talked to a gentleman today that said he had a road that was offered to the city multiple years ago. I don't know anything about this. I don't even think I lived here, and he was denied. So I don't know. Do you remember anything like that? I have no idea. Somebody that said he owned some property near the field behind the firehouse and was going to try to give a road, and it was denied. Something. Never heard of it.
Nobody ever offered us any kind of road.
I'm
I
gonna
know of.
investigate that a
So-
little more. I was just curious.
I would just if that I'm sure that agreement's posted out there on a website somewhere. I'd just be curious, get my hands on that.
Do we spend money on that field? Because I feel like y'all are out
Oh,
there
yeah.
moving dirt
yeah.
and doing stuff. Why?
Right. Which is money that
The place gets watered for free. The place,
Right,
the
I
light
don't think that
bill,
that's
we pay the
appropriate.
light bill, we maintain. It's like now the roof's got to be replaced on the concession
Isn't
stand.
HSA for profit?
Uh-huh. They're a 501(c)(3).
doesn't mean the city.
I guess I'm confused as to why, and I know this is not really for this time, but the city gets no money from them, but they have a private field on our city. And as a parks board, that's kind of problematic, right? So if someone can't access that field with a wheelchair because it's not available to them, and when they can get there, it's locked, I guess I'm just confused as to why that's on my agenda every month if I can't do anything about it. Like, can we take Firehouse Field off of our
Or you can
agenda?
drop any of them off that you want to drop off.
Well,
Well,
The agenda
That's
is
not what I'm
y'all's,
saying, but
the
you see what I
agenda
mean?
is y'all's
right,
agenda.
but that's actually not the problem. The problem is you've got a lot of money that we're all paying into.
Yes, I pay my taxes, and I'm
Right.
paying for you to go water a field that I can't use.
So we're paying for services that go to a private 501c or whatever.
And I'm not trying to be funny, but if only 2,000 people live in Haslet, I'm sure all those kids that I'm happy they're playing. Don't get me wrong, I want kids to play sports,
Right.
but they don't all live in Haslet.
Well, and the issue is, I mean, I don't think we mind supporting HSA because there have been
Correct.
opportunities before when there was a different company that wanted to come in and we chose to continue to support HSA. But it's not their private property. And so that's what needs to be changed, that certainly when they need it, I'm not opposed to it being available to them, but it needs to be available to our community, just like the basketball court is
So
here.
let me make a suggestion.
Thank you.
Let's get the contract to the park board. Let's review that contract, and then let's maybe make recommendations to council saying, next time the approval's around, let's open it up on the weekends or just do something different. I mean, at least educate ourselves a little bit and maybe make some recommendations. Because I think it doesn't feel right to us, but I don't think any of us are really that educated on it.
I haven't read it. I agree. Sounds perfect.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's public record.
I'll
So
also
it is
just,
definitely available.
I see a few looks from maybe David and Katrina. So if we're missing something, if y'all want to kind of fill us in on if there's any other
No, we
information.
can tell
we should-
you, I can tell you probably more history
Okay,
than
all right.
anybody. That agreement has been rewritten. I have rewritten it 5 times that I know of myself by own direction of our city council and mayor. And then it gets to city council and mayor, and you have HSA people out here come up to that mic and say, it's for the children, it's for the children. City council backs down. We go back to the same old agreement they've had for the last 30 years. And that's what happens every time. We've rewritten it to make it stronger city side. Every time it comes forward, and they whine, say something, city council goes back and lets them, we'll just leave it like it is. And they re-up it again and they move on.
They
It
did.
has in
Well,
the
let's
past.
just
We got
educate them.
bamboozled because of that big project plan that was over there where they said, oh, we're going to build these basketball courts and these
Oh,
tennis
yeah.
courts and this soccer field and all these things that I was asking where the money was from. And I was still young and new and didn't understand and thought that there was magic money that I wasn't seeing. And so this magic money that I wasn't seeing over the past few years never was there and never really had any intention to be there. It's kind of like widening 156. They have a contract, but there's no money. I called myself, there's no money. So if you don't have the money, you can't make a project like this. So if we as a board then look at the contract and are like, oh, well, we could change this. Maybe we could just pull out one of David's old ones. Probably you still have it somewhere. Resubmit it and then show up as citizens and say, hey, as a park board, we were talking to this. Citizens, we want it open.
Well, and I can tell you right now, originally, when HSA was formed, and I was here, it was formed for certain seasons, and we had to actually rent the property.
Yeah, the
We had to pay
original,
for it. We had to
back in
pay for the
old-
lights.
Back
We-
when it first started, and it was just Nance Field, and HSA helped work on the field. HSA came up there and maintained, did all kinds of things with their labor and time, and was very involved in what was going on with the field and all, and took a lot of care and a lot of time in it. And then over the years, it's gotten, well,
We
don't
can't
really
do
have
this or
time
we
to
can't
clean
do
the
that.
trash, we can't take out the trash.
I've
Can
climbed the
somebody else
ladder
do it?
truck up there to replace light bulbs.
Mhm.
So, I mean, and originally, we went over and we mowed the field every year. We mowed it every time it needed to be mowed. So I think that HSA needs to be more responsible in what they're doing, but they also need to report to the city or to the park board. And every time it gets to a certain point, then they change leaders, and the new leader has to get his feet under it. And then once that happens, then there's another new leader. So I think we do need to look at it all over again and see what we can do, and not go after it like we want to take it back. But let's see what we can do to help them and make it more accessible to everybody in the community.
be a
Agreed.
shared.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we still want, we're not saying we don't
want
want to
them to use
support
it.
HSA.
Right.
We do. But we also
We
want
just
to make,
also want to not
when
have it
it's-
lost.
We don't want to sink money into something we get no benefit from.
right.
Well, and I think at one time there was people going back there and like drag racing around on it. Right.
Well, not at Nance. Nance Sunday, then they bring in their adult softball league takes over on Sunday at Nance. Now, fire station maybe not so much, but
It's kind of like having sand in the water fountains, right?
Can they not put a storage unit and lock their stuff up?
And I don't know if this is the solution there, but I know at the Keller High School tennis courts, they have the kind of fence that there's not a gate, but you kind of have to go in and around, like I'd have to draw it for you, but it's, yeah. Well, I'm saying is the large gates could be locked, but you could have one of those pass-through gates that can't be locked, so that a family could go in and be on the field, but you couldn't get a motorcycle or a scooter or those kinds of things in there, because when you go in, you have to go you have to go around the thing. Anyway, just a suggestion. But I mean, that's the kind of thing we could consider.
But yeah, Matt, you'd asked how much we spend on fire station in Nance. $25,000 a year we put into those things, not counting about $11,000 a year in electricity at Nance Field to run lights. Because what they do is, Nance Field has become nothing but either their select teams practice field and softball, for the most part, practice field. And they practice most nights of the week. They're out there practicing, so they use lights a lot.
The contract, well, let's move on. Let's share the contract with us and we'll educate ourselves a bit. Then, yeah.
All for your next meeting as a future agenda item is to bring y'all a copy of the contract. And we can try to get it to y'all in
Ahead of time a
advance.
little bit.
Yeah. Since Katrina's got all your emails, so it shouldn't be hard to shoot y'all a copy of it. It's real great reading in the middle of the night.
So Gamble and
So on Gamble,
moving on to Gamble.
When we've rewritten the document, it's about a 5, 6, 7-page document, and then it usually has 3 exhibits. But the actual existing one, they always keep approving. It's like a page and a half.
All right, so Gamble Park.
so the swings,
Are
the
they
2 new
ordered?
swings, have those been ordered? That's all.
Six months. Oh.
Well,
We want a brand new park. They're sending me deals on, we got this park, that park. You want to buy a park, picture park?
So we'll ask you again next.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna ask it again next month.
I write it down every time.
This is, I know we talked, this, I think we recommended in
No,
December.
it's okay.
So,
So my next question then is going to be on community park, and I'm going to ask you this every month too. How's the volleyball court relocation attempt coming? So I saw some high schoolers, I don't know, after the Easter thing,
Again,
that were trying to play
right
on the
now,
volleyball
there's
sand.
zero money.
Well, this is what they told me, and I just want the park board to know. I said, hey, haven't seen y'all out here before. Do you think people like to play volleyball? And they said, absolutely. We love this sand pit. There isn't a closer field for us from any of the high schools unless we drive to Keller. This is the only place we can go. The high schoolers love it. Now, I don't know. I see them, at least somebody's out there playing about every other time I'm in the park, which isn't super often, but it's often enough for me to have noticed that. And so I know we're getting rid of it and we're scrapping it to put in the hard, but
wait,
said-
what, I don't think we're getting rid of it.
We're not having,
It's
it's
not on the
not
plans.
having to leave to do the tennis court.
because
tennis courts
are
are
now
next to
going
it.
on the other
Relocated.
side of the.
We
Yeah, they're next to
relocated the
it.
tennis courts to a better
Oh, okay.
location,
But I don't.
that
I thought we wanted
fits-
it moved.
fits better with everything.
I think that was scrapped a few months ago.
Yeah.
I thought we were trying to still move it.
No,
Isn't-
no.
isn't there
we're not
any
having
way
to
we
move
could-
it unless we want to.
Isn't there any way that we can regulate keeping that sand in the pit? Isn't there anything we can do?
Not without somebody running off the parents who allow their kids to scoop all of it out and haul it all over the park.
Is there a different kind of sand? I don't
Not
know. I'm
that works
asking.
in as far as volleyball, the kind of fineness you have to play on. Not really. I mean, we've done brick sand, which is a little heavier, but that doesn't really help. They still are playing with it, hauling it off. Moms let them stick it in buckets. We've seen them carry it over and turn the bucket upside down on the basketball court, of all things.
Can we change the water? Like maybe it's cheaper to change the water fountain to one of those ones where you put the water bottle under it and it only comes down so it can't get clogged. I don't know. I'm asking.
Water fountains, yeah, it's the drain that's the problem. It's not the water itself.
Yeah, but I feel like you're not going to stick your feet up and wash them off in a water bottle dispenser. Because, you know, there's the dog bowl there and people are going and playing in that. And then there's the higher one that the kids can just dump into.
And-
Right.
And they take it in the restrooms and mess up the toilet. I mean, it's just ridiculous what
Can we
they're
put an
doing with
outdoor
it.
shower on the wall so
The
people?
problem is the sand's too convenient to the water. That's the problem.
Can we
Okay,
add an
what
outdoor
about-
shower?
If the sand volleyball court was on the other side of the creek and you had to walk that far, you'd shake all the sand off before you ever got there, so it wouldn't matter. But
What about putting some signage up? It couldn't hurt.
doesn't hurt. I mean, we can always.
Oh, I know. I had to dump out a 2-year-old's basket. I was like, where's your mommy? Like I'm the evil witch of the world. I was so mean.
That's
Can-
okay.
can
I
you
did it
put
to
a
some of the
sign-
older ones too when they took off too early.
Can you put a sign that
Yeah.
says sand washing station and make a separate like drainage outdoor shower thing? We're
I
trying
would
to
like
get
to
the
see
sand out.
just a couple of
Okay.
signs that say, to put up two
No, it's not
signs.
that. I can't drain it to the creek legally because
I know you can't put it in the creek.
yeah,
I was
you
just
can't
kidding.
you can't add more than If it naturally falls in there, that's one thing, but you're not supposed to purposely send sand down
Got it.
into a creek that ends up in the next person's
Right,
pond and
Right.
on
It's
down into Lake
ecologically
Grapevine.
incorrect, yes. But I still would like to see a couple of signs that say, if the sand doesn't stay in the volleyball court will not be here. Maybe you'll have to,
So for now, we're going to work on
No, all
signs.
we
The
can do is
volleyball court
please do
staying.
not remove the sand. Sort of
you know,
things.
I
That's
really
kind
do
of stuff.
honestly think that the signs we put up on the basketball court that said be polite and share the space, it worked. I mean, I haven't had any trouble. Of course, I haven't been there as often because it's been too cold, but there have been times when kids were playing basketball and I asked them politely, do you think you can play on one end so we can play on this end? They were fine with that. So,
Yeah, we can try some signs. That's easy enough to do. Doesn't cost all that much. If
Or
it
can we
works,
just turn that water fountain off?
we can't keep it going. We
Oh.
fixed it today. Yeah.
Okay,
So far, nobody's made a big deal about it, but
perfect.
yeah, but if you move the water fountain, that just means they go to the bathroom and
Right.
throw the sand in the bathroom more than they do in the water fountain. So there's no real win to the whole thing,
Outdoor shower.
other than moving the sand.
How about a sign
volleyball
on the
court.
bathroom door that says no sand allowed?
I think it's going to end up coming down to, at some point, we will probably try to get funding to make that a solid surface court instead of a sand court, even though lots of people like it.
I know.
But we've had some others that we've asked in the past if that would make a difference to them, and they go, no, it didn't matter. If it was sand,
When's our survey coming
if
out
it was
again?
sand, they like it because it's fun for some of them, but then the others are like, if it was a concrete volleyball court, we'd still play on it, because then we could play on it at different times when it's wet and stuff. We don't have to worry about it. We could be out there anytime. So
When is that city survey that gets sent out asking what you want to see changed in the city?
that's one thing that's not on y'all's thing, but it has to be done soon. But there's been so many other things, and there's really no funding, so I'm not sure how we're going to get it done. But by law, we need to be doing a new park plan now. Yes, this year, 2022 is our year.
Can we go ahead and get the survey sent out in the water bill?
Oh, I can. Yeah. Problem is they're supposed to have somebody put all that stuff together and come up with an actual plan. So it's something I can take to administration and see how they want to deal with it, because we need to do it. Otherwise, what happens is if you don't keep these things up, if you do ever go back and go for a grant from Parks and Wildlife,
it affects
you
the
have
funding.
to have one.
Right.
And they won't just let you go do one and then go apply. Oh, no. You have to have been doing plans all along in a consecutive. So you have to have done one, I think it's 5 years before you apply. So if you let it lapse, then you 5 years out trying to. Right now, there's not a lot of grants that we qualify for anymore as far as Parks and Wildlife, unless we wanted to get into doing programs. They got a lot that we qualify for programs, but as far as building park stuff, we don't qualify because, gosh, everybody in this town makes too much money. Our demographic income levels don't allow us, and we've been twice arguing with Parks and Wildlife that the problem is our park is the closest park for about 30 some odd thousand people in this area that do have a lot of people that qualify, and they come and use our park on a regular basis, but
yeah.
we don't get the benefit of being able to count them. And we say that we keep trying to explain to them that doesn't seem very fair, that we have a large population right just a couple of miles over here that has a lot of people who do qualify. So we should be able to count them since we're serving them. Same as our library services them. Because
And-
libraries are able to count those people, but we don't get to do it in the park side.
And they believe that they support the city of Haslet because they come and use the facilities and they spend money in Haslet, is what I've had many say to me.
Yeah, I'd like to know where they spend the money,
I know, that's what, and
because we don't
well, they
have
think
enough.
Walmart, but Walmart's not in Haslet.
Right. This is something that HSA always tries to pull every time we do the contract is, well, look at all the money we bring to your town. You know, all these people that come, and it's like, so you go down to Quick Country and buy a soda, and I get a whole 1% of that soda. You go to Sonic, I get 1% of that whole soda. Yeah, I believe you're right. We probably are. So
Moving on.
we don't get nothing.
All right, Veterans Memorial Garden is going to be ready for the Memorial Day celebration. Do we have anyone that's touching it up? Maybe the Boy Scouts, we can ask them for a one-time thing.
They're supposed to be. Whether they did anything, I can't tell you. Yeah, they were supposed to have been out there.
I mean, can we ask them just to show up the Sunday before as one of their projects? Touch-ups, whatever? I don't know, whoever was coming. Oh. Okay.
Yeah, ask Eric. Their kids wanted, their youth wanted to do something. Yeah.
All right. So we'll see about that just for the, yay. All right, next park board meeting will be May the 11th. Sorry, are there any other future agenda items other than the food truck thing that we want to add for next meeting? HSA contract. Got it. Got that, Katrina? HSA contract and food truck possibility. And city survey. We can at least ask
I say
for
you
it.
put out an RFP, get a firm on board. They got to go. I mean, is that the whole? How do you do that for the survey? You got to engage a
No,
consultant and do
legally
all
they
that?
don't have to. That's what they've always done in the past. Technically, according to the way Parks and Wildlife, y'all could do it in-house if y'all wanted to do it. Y'all could send out the survey. Y'all sit there and read through all the surveys, look at them, tally it up, and call it good. And they're fine with that. They don't really care how it's done. They just require, because there are cities that do it all in-house. They don't have anybody.
Technically, there's been a third party that you've done.
In the past, they've usually hired a third-party company to take care of all. Yes, we did the mail out and all with the stuff, but they got all the data. They're the ones who compiled it all, put it all together, did all the drawings. Yeah. Now, we had to. One year we didn't have the funding, and yes, we did do it ourselves in-house with help.
Well,
Yeah.
if it needs to be done, though, to keep us from losing out on any funding, would you let us know enough ahead of time so we can do something about that?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you very much.
This conference is no longer being recorded.